Good evening, Vesta. How are you? Thank you for being here this evening, and I want to thank everybody for being so accommodating when I have to change my times. You know, sometimes things just pop up, and you gotta just kind of reschedule everything. And what happened is our kids came in last night late, about 10 o'clock, from the Akron area, and they spent the night with us and the morning, and then they headed out to the state park that's not far from us for the next 3 or 4 days for a little vacation. So we had company, and wanted to spend time with them. Now, of course, we'll go out to the inn, and we'll still have family time before they go home. And then this afternoon, we went and we adopted a puppy. She's beautiful. We love her. And this wasn't that spur of the moment. Our neighbor was fostering her and her sister. And so we had been watching her grow for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. And we don't know why we did. I mean, we know why we fell in love with her, and we know that we can give her a really good life. But already it hasn't even been, I don't know, 8 hours. And wow, what a change in your life a puppy will make. I feel like I have a baby, and I never had my own babies, but she is like a toddler, putting everything in her mouth. You're constantly running around the yard or the house, telling her to put it down and, taking stuff out of her mouth. But this is all gonna, we know we just got to work through. She's a puppy. I mean, she didn't come to us like, 6 months old or 8 months old. We are in the puppy stage. And it's cute, and it's very tiring. But we will survive. Abby is surviving. She's kind of like not sure of the whole thing, but it will all work out. When we got Abby, she was like 6 or 8 months old, and our older dog was, he was like 10. And so there was that whole, just they had to get used to each other, and one's activity level was a lot higher than the other one, but it ended up working out. So we just have to be patient. And so her name is Cosette, and we kept the name that the foster had given her, and they nicknamed her Seti Spaghetti, and we nicknamed Abby Oodle Noodle. So spaghetti, noodles, we had to keep it. So you'll be seeing some pictures of her. She's getting some crate rest right now because she was spayed yesterday. So she is 12 weeks old, Vicki, and the surrenderer down at the shelter said that she was a Havanese. She's clearly a mix. The shelter says she's a Havanese Yorkie mix, but I am seeing some other small breeds in her. So, right now, we really don't know for sure what breed is really going to show the dominance as she gets older. So that'll be fun, because her color, when 4 weeks ago, she was so white like Abby, who's a Bichon. And now her ears are turning like tan. So we don't know. We're just going to watch her morph into, whatever is her assets are going to be, her characteristics. And I guess we'll know as she grows exactly what breed really is speaking the loudest. But right now her breed is cute. Let's just say her breed is cute. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. And Vicky's getting to watch from Australia. So just so good to be back with you guys after being gone for a week. And I was dog sitting for my cousin, who was on vacation last week. So, yeah, so the project that I have for you tonight, there will be a PDF. It's in the works. It will be available sometime this weekend. And I am going to have 2 sets of cutting instructions for you. If you want to do just 1 block, or if you want to do 2 blocks at the same time. We're going to, well, I'm not going to say because I don't want to give, it's a mystery. And I was already dropping clues when I was telling you what to prep. So let's just see what happens. What I had you prep, I had you cut a 2x4 piece of cardstock. This is a base that we're going to work on. It's going to give the quilt block stability. I just happened to have a scrap that matched with the colors that I had chosen. So I am using a 2x4 piece of Pretty Peacock. And to do this block, it is easier to learn it if you maybe keep it monochromatic or a white with a color, just to get the hang of it. Now, it's not difficult, but just so that you can see the pattern take place. And then once you're comfortable with it, then if you want to start mixing patterns, you can. But I think it's easier to teach it with a 2 pieces of designer series paper that have a lot of contrast. So in the Thoughtful Journey designer series paper, and I'll show you the pieces that, this was my inspiration. It was the colors in this piece of designer series paper that I really liked. But notice how the Pool Party or even Lost Lagoon really has a strong, a good contrast with the Pretty Peacock. So that's what I did. I went through the paper pack and I saw that there was, you know, sheets that they really showed high contrast. So those are the colors that I chose. And the flip side of that designer series paper has all of these colors in it. And I'm going to show you a block when I'm done where I actually used the print with all the different colors. And I want to show you how that turned out, because it really made the quilt block look like I had used batik fabrics. But I think to learn it, we need to just go with 2 contrasting colors. And a lot of times, if you're not sure about contrasting colors, then if you go monochromatic and use a light shade of one color and a dark shade of that color, you're good to go. So the pattern will jump out, okay? So let's get started. And you needed, one color was going to be A, and one color of your designer series paper was going to be B. Now, it does not matter, because you might want to redo this pattern and reverse the colors so that you see what it looks like when you change the placement. Okay? Oh, I was just catching, oh, Vicky says she had withdrawals. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I'm sorry about that. I hope you guys liked the challenge that I threw out there just to keep your wheels spinning. I really loved the layouts that I saw over in our community group, because it was up to you how you wanted to use those pieces. And there were a lot of different layouts. And what I really enjoyed was, instead of like taking one thing that you haven't been using and used it, there were some cards that were done with a lot of orphans, and it was great. So I'm really happy that you, for those who were sharing their cards, didn't just skip a week just because I wasn't live, but you were still creating. So that was pretty awesome. So this is going to be my A. This is going to be my B. Again, it doesn't matter. It would be interesting to see what these blocks look like reversing those colors. So the first thing that we're going to do, on the A color, I had you cut a 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece, and we're going to build this right on that piece of cardstock. So that was going to go on one side, and then on the B you had a 1 by 4. That's going to butt right up next to A. And then when I had you cut a second piece of A, I said go slightly larger than a 1/2 inch. And the reason why is you'll make sure by cutting it just a little bit bigger, you are totally going to get this pattern on that base. And when we flip it over, we'll trim off anything that's hanging over. But instead of maybe cutting it just a little shy, I mean like a hair shy of a 1/2 inch, when you start gluing it down and you notice that you can still see your base underneath, cutting this just a little bit bigger gives you the full coverage. So I'm just going to move these pieces out of the way, and I'm going to use my fine tip. I need to find a way to keep that out of my, and I'm just going to put the glue directly onto that base, and I'm just going to put a line there. I will say that wherever you're applying glue, make sure that you really get it in the center. That's a tip. It's a clue. You might figure out. Well, I already kind of gave it away in the prep that you're getting more than one block. So I've got A down, and now I'm going to put this piece of B, and I am going to butt it right up against A. Now, if you have anything that's hanging off the edge of your base, you know that we're going to flip it over and cut it off. So just keep going. And then, isn't that pretty? Just that ombre look that's going on here. And then we're going to put the other one. Now, you may want to just watch tonight and get all the tips and see how it's going. And attempt it by watching the replay, or if you want to wait till the PDF is ready. But see, I'm going to cut this extra off. So I'm just putting the side of my blade of my scissors right along the side of the cardstock. And I'm just going to trim that off. You could use your trimmer if you want to. Somehow I got some over here. I pushed it way too far, so I'm just gonna clean up this side also. I had some sticking out there. So I've cleaned up my foundation piece here. And the next thing, we're just going to set that to the side for right now. Now, on A, you had 2 1-inch blocks. I cut an extra one. And the reason why, if I am making a quilt block and I'm using triangles, it doesn't hurt to cut a few extra. That way, when you're playing with the placement, if one isn't fitting the way you wanted it to, you have extras to pull from. So I just cut an extra square. And then we've got here, we needed, what was it? For B, I think it was 3, but I cut 4. like I said, just to have extra. Now on all of these 1-inch squares, we are going to cut quarter square triangles out of them. And I'm not going to do it on the trimmer. You can do it on the trimmer if you want. But I am just going to put the point, I'm going to hold my square on point, and I'm going to put this corner into the blade of my snips, and I am going to cut straight across, and I'm just going to cut it in half. So there are 2 half square triangles, but I need to cut it diagonally again the other way to get quarter square triangles. So I'm just going to eyeball it, find the middle, cut it, cut it again. So we're going to do this together. So real quick, and then it's real easy to keep A and B's separate because we have 2 different colors. That's another thing. They're all getting cut the same. So it's like, oh, if you got colors that are really, really close, you might run into, was I supposed to be using that for an A or was I supposed to be using that for B? So just real quick, we're going to cut all of these squares. And I'm doing my B ones right now. Again, if you want to be really, really precise, you can put your squares in your trimmer and line up the points in the track. I find that this is an easy enough size square to work with that I can pretty much do it just with my snips. And this is my extra one. Because like I said, when it comes to triangles, sometimes you need that extra set just in case something isn't working out right. And then for my A 1-inch squares, I'm going to do the same thing. Now when I'm done doing this, I'm going to show you the template, and I'm going to let you screenshot it if you want to have it right now. So if you're going to go back and do this after the live is over, you can have that template as a reference. It's just going to keep us organized when we start putting our triangles down. Ah, get in there. So, how is everybody's Thursday going? The weather at night is finally cooling off here, but we have some beautiful weather for the next 3 or 4 days in the 80s, which is the kids are so excited about because they're out at the beach for the next 4 days, and the weather is just supposed to be beautiful. Excuse me. One more. Okay. So I can keep my triangles separated. Even though they're flipped over, I know what is A and I know what is B. So let me show you this template. Here is the template, right here. Okay. And then what I would suggest that you do, I had also said to have a piece of grid paper. What I did was I drew out a 2x4 rectangle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this right next to the template so I can show you how we're going to work across in rows laying our triangles down. And I know that this is A, B, and A. Okay? Sorry, I'm going to move it just for a second if you're trying to screenshot it. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll put it back down. And then you can take a look at that. I wonder, let me see if I can't zoom in. Let's see here. How's that? Okay. Oh, that's much better. Now you can see it. You can see it better. Okay. So notice on the template, it will have where you're going to place B triangles and A triangles. Now, these that have the dotted line, they're going to hang over the edge, and we're just going to go back and snip them off. What I was trying to do is to keep the piece as big as I can so it doesn't get so small that it's hard for you to work with when you're trying to hold this little tiny triangle. I'm really striving to be able to make it so that everybody can do the block easily. Sometimes I can't get away. The piece is going to be small, but when I can, let's make it easy for everybody with their hands to handle the pieces. So I'm going to work across in rows, and notice I've got my lines on my grid that can help me stay straight. Okay, so we need a B. I know this is my B, and my point is going to be up. I'm going to put the point of my triangle right up here in this corner, and I always do a dry run first so that you can see the placement, and I'm going to put the straight edge on the line of my grid paper. Now, if you want to, you could put a glue dot behind here so it doesn't move your piece. In fact, I'm going to do that really quick. I'm going to kind of make it less tacky. And I'm not going to put it in the middle because I'm going to need to cut. So if I can just transfer it, well, come on. There, now I'm going to put this piece down. If you've got repositionable seal or anything like that, you can use that too. But that's just going to help hold that in place. And now that I know that this is where my triangle is, I'm going to hold the side that doesn't get any glue. Put that up in the corner, make sure my line is straight. Now I kind of got a guess that my line is straight, just eyeballing it. But if I'm on the line here and my point is up there, I'm pretty much where I need to be. It's a little crooked. Oh, now that I put it down, I can't get it back up. Let me just see if I can't. You know what? It is what it is. Okay. Now we need an A. So come down and get a triangle that is your A. And it's going to go right up here in the middle at the top of B. And it's going to be pointing down inward. Okay, so that's where B is going to go. Just take your time, pretend you're putting a puzzle together. Get it out there to the end. And then we're going to do a B just like we did the other side. So I'm going to hold the side that doesn't get glue, put a little bit on the side that does. And then I am going to use my grid paper on the right and put that point along the side. I'm You know me, I have to have this in front of me. So I am just going to move this. And my point may not go all the way up to the top. Oh, it can. I can move that. There we go. Now I got to get this glue off. Wait, part of that, oh, that's the design in the paper, some of it. Okay. It's not me, not all of it's me. Okay. So there's the first row. Now the second row is a little wider. It's a 1-inch wide piece. We're going to take B, but instead of putting it on with the short sides, we're going to turn it and we're going to glue it down so that the long side is along the outside. So like that. And I'm going to put my 2 B's down before I put the A's. So before I glue it down, I'm going to take another B. And I'm just going to play with it there so I can see. Can you see what pattern is starting to take place? But it still changes again. So I am really overusing glue here. A little goes a long way. Move that to the out to the edge. Your point should touch the B center. And then this one's going to be pointing in from the other direction. And what I'm also looking at is if I know this is a 1-inch, that this is 1 inch on the long side, I'm counting my squares on my grid to make sure that it's falling where it's supposed to. Okay, so there's the 2 B's. And now look at A. A is going the same direction as B, and they're kissing right in the center. So A is my lighter color. So the tip of A should be meeting that corner of that top triangle. Like, whoops, you get what I'm trying to show you. I got to bring it down. Now, if you want your colors more matchy, you can look in your triangles and do that. I'm going to keep mine a little scrappy, just so that it shows different shades and tones. So once you've got your A's, then you can go ahead and glue them down. And that piece right there just created that chevron look. And I'm going to try and keep my piece to where it's kissing the other one. So sometimes that means you got to move it just a little bit. But that's pretty good. Because when the quilt block is done, if you don't like your center, you know what you do. You just put a piece of bling in there. Or you just cover up that center. So now we're coming down to this row here. So instead of the point of B going up like we did at the top, we're going to make it point down on both sides. So we're going to do B on both sides. And remember, you're only doing half. So my point right here is going to be alongside the outside edge of our base. And I want to show you that this point here should be lining up right here where we put this A, and so you can see a chevron here. It's a chevron, right? Or it looks like an arrow, however you want to look at it. This is one of those blocks that I really wish it was right down here in front of me. Definitely going to have to probably come in with my adhesive eraser. But I'm really not going to get too picky. Unless it was really, really off. Then it's like, I got to get picky. I know that in the process of when we add texture to our quilt block by running it through an embossing folder, I know that it's going to hide some of my imperfections, so I got to keep that in mind. Okay. So we did the two B's. And now when it comes to A, I had you cut an 11/16 inch square. And 11/16 inch is 1 mark behind 3/4 of an inch. And this is going to set on point. Now the top of my square is going to, and you got to eyeball it, my point here is going to run flush with this line right across here. So you'll have to eyeball it, but you can put it down. Now make sure that you've got adhesive on this really nice. And I'll tell you why. You might have already figured it out, but we're going to cut this pattern in half to get 2 quilt blocks instead of 1. And we're going to end up cutting it in half right across here. So you want to make sure that you've got that glued down really nice because we're going to cut it in half. Okay. So now that we've got that, we need to come down and we're going to put B, 2 more triangles of B, and they're going to point up. And so they're going to kiss right there. Okay. You're going to kiss. And you want to just try to maintain a straight line right across there. Okay. And you can use your grid lines. Ooh, I almost put glue on the whole thing instead of just on the one side. So put that like that. I'm gonna have to overlap that one just a little bit, but that's okay. And then glue only goes on this half here. And here's my line I want to be straight on. Push it up there just a little bit. Okay, so really pretty design that this is becoming. And now when we get to the next, we're repeating what we did up here. So 2 B's are going to go on the outside, like so. And then your 2 A's are going to go in the same direction as each one of these. Get off my finger. like we did up here. Okay, so we're just repeating it because we want to get 2 of the same block. I just figured, you know, and you've heard me say it before, when you cut a card base, you're actually getting 2 card bases out of 1 sheet of cardstock. So when I first did this block in practicing it, I only did the 1. And I'm like, how can I gotta sketch this out, because if I'm putting 1 together, can I put another 1 right underneath it, cut it in half, and get 2 blocks so that, you know, gonna have 2 card bases. Let's make two cards. Again, when this sits down right here, notice that this point here is up here with these, and it's defining these, the design. And I hope you can see that in teaching this, it really was better just to go with a high contrast, 2 colors that are high contrast, so that you can really see the design. If you had picked 2 colors that really were too close together, you may not have seen the design that's going on here. Okay, now this one doesn't kiss exactly with that other one, so let's try another triangle. Oh, that one, when I cut it, that wasn't even better. So let's see. Oh, this one matches up. See why it's nice to have more triangles than what the pattern calls for, because where one doesn't work, play with the other triangles that you have, and chances are you're going to find one that is a perfect fit. That kisses a lot better right there. We're almost done. We're down to the very last row. Okay, and so our bees are going to point down. Again, our point's going to line up on the outside edge of our base. Like so. Okay, so put your bees down, and then go in there and put that A. Now remember, the A is going to be facing up. Come on. There you go. Yeah, I think it's this side here. Yep. And so there is the last one. The last triangle of B. And then I need an A. And it's going to go right here in the middle, and it's going to be pointing up. And now your design is done. I would give your glue a little time to dry. And what I did was I ran this whole piece in, I put it in the embossing folder. I embossed the whole thing, and then I cut my edges off. But just give that a few minutes for, and here's all my extra pieces I had, but it's better to have extra than not. So, hey Tony, so glad you're here. And Kathy says it's so amazing. Kathy, I love it when whenever you use the word sew, you do SEW. It just tickles me, because I know you are an avid sewer and quilter. Okay, so there's our design. Oh good, my glue dot. I can peel that right up so I can use this again. Again, I stuck this through my embossing folder and the whole piece. So let's do that together, and we'll trim it all up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and show you the 2 cards that I did. It's the same layout, but just done a little differently, and it's so easy. I want to encourage you to use your quilt blocks in any way that you want to, but I'll show you the 2 finished cards. So let's run this through an embossing folder, and then we're going to trim up the edges and cut it in half. So I'm just going to be off camera for just a second. And I'm just going to use the subtle... I don't want my texture to compete with what I show you my back, the layout is. Now this is a retired folder, but I'm telling you, it's my absolute favorite, and it's the subtle embossing folder. And I just want to add a little bit of texture. I don't want it to compete with my the layout that I used. I just want to set the design down. So I'm going to run this through. Okay, so let's take it out. So I laid some texture down. I'm going to bring my, you know what I'm going to do first? We're going to flip it over, and we're going to trim off all of these triangles. Sorry, sis, I had to hang up on you, but I'm in a live. I will call you back when I'm all done. Okay, so I got those. I got it all cleaned up, and look how pretty that is. I just love this. It always looks so much better after you get your edges trimmed up. This is 2x4. So I'm going to put it in my trimmer. And you know what? I am going to... Amanda, I just love that you shared that we can do that on Facebook now with our lives. I'm going to put it in at 2 inches. And what I'm going to look at is that... Oops. Now my point's a little bit off on my cutting track here. But it should go straight across. I might have to just move it ever so slightly. But it should be really close, okay? And voila, now you have 2 quilt blocks. So you have to make 2 cards, okay? So now that you can see the design, you might want to repeat it and reverse where your colors are. It's up to you. But here are the 2 quilt blocks. And for those of you who have never made a barn quilt before, you just did, because this is one of the sizes that I use for the Block of the Month barn quilt card kit. This is a 2-inch. It's just a mini quilt block. So if you've never made a barn quilt before, you just did. Okay, so here's a barn quilt for you. Now, you can depend... I didn't tell you about a card base and layers and stuff, because I really think you need to look at your quilt block and decide what you want to use as your card base and how you want to layer it. But let me show you the 2 cards that I did, and I'll have to finish these. Here's my first one. Okay, so I layered my quilt block on a 2 1/4 inch square. So I went from 2 inches to 2 1/4, and then I layered it again on a 2 1/2 inch square. And all I did was I stayed with my card base and my card front that I embossed are the same color. So it's just, I guess you would say tone on tone, maybe. And then I stamped hello from the layering, it's Layering Leaves stamp set. This is like one of my all-time favorite stamp sets. I love the font on it. And I did it on one of the stitched Stylish Shapes banner, and it didn't go all the way across, so I did another one and just tucked this one underneath the barn quilt, and then added a bling in the center and then 2 gems on the side. So that was how I used that barn quilt. And then now these were done previously, so my colors aren't the same as what we did right here. But I brought out the soft sea foam that I saw in the Designer Series paper. Remember, this was, these are the colors that are in my inspiration piece. And I could have used this one too, for the strip that goes all the way across behind. And then I stamped right on the Designer Series paper, and then just put some bling down. So these are, this layout is really, really simple. I want the quilt block to do the talking. I don't want other things to compete with it, but it's a really simple layout. So that's how I did mine. And then, I don't think I even finished the insides yet. I haven't. So now that I have these 2 blocks, then I will look at what color do I want to use as my card base. I want to show you the block that I did. Remember I told you that I used some Designer Series paper that had a lot of different colors in it. This is what it turned out like. And can you see how it looks like I used batik fabrics? Can you see? I just love how all those colors, and batiks are like one of my ultimate favorites in fabric to use, because you can actually use either side of a batik fabric and it doesn't look like you're using the wrong side. Are there any quilters out there that know what I'm talking about? I've made quilts and blocks before with a batik and actually was sewing the wrong side, but you really couldn't tell. So I loved it. But that's just how different it can look when you're bringing in, you know, one of your papers that has a lot of different colors going in. And I didn't try to match anything up. I just put it wherever I wanted to, just to give it, you know, that look. And in batiks, you have colors going everywhere. And so these are the barn quilts that we're doing tonight. And I'm excited that we're doing a barn quilt on a Facebook Live instead of waiting, you know, for a kit. I won't repeat this in a kit. This is for all of you. Again, give yourself a pat on the back if you've never made a barn quilt. They're just miniature quilt blocks. And so tonight we did 2. The PDF, I will give the cutting instructions if you just want to do 1 block. But if you have that template and you can follow across on your rows, if you're going to make 1 block, why not just make 2? We didn't use a whole lot of paper. It just, why not make 2 if you're going to make 1? So I can't wait to see what your cards look like. I understand that you may be waiting for the PDF. Again, if you took a screenshot of that template and you can have that beside you, you know, you can still do the block until the PDF is ready. But I'll understand if there's not, you know, I want you to take your time, and I want your barn quilt to be everything that you want it to be. So we're going to be busy this weekend with the kids and a puppy. So I will be checking in just in case some people did get their blocks done. And whether you use this same layout or you've got a card layout that requires a square, use your barn quilt as your square in whatever layout that you like. If there's a card sketch that you found, and that square would look really good with that card sketch, use that. You don't have to use it the way I did. And I did use the eyelet embossing folder. I just thought with this like star kind of pattern that's in the embossing folder, I think it complemented the kind of star that's going on here. But yeah, that is our Facebook Live for tonight. I will see everybody back here next Wednesday night because we're going to put the July barn quilt together, and I will show you what the August kit looks like. So I will see you next Wednesday night at 8:30 here, and then the next day, Thursday, in the morning at 11:30, I'll do my live. So thank you so much for being here this evening. I hope this was something that you enjoyed doing or that you look forward to doing. And just have a blessed rest of your day. And I will be talking with you soon. Okay, so we will talk to you later.